Okay, everybody. If you can see that we are in our pajamas, we're kind of thinking of starting something new. Just for the month of October only, we are thinking about watching a new horror movie every night. We're going to try to watch it every night. It's like sometimes our schedules are going to conflict. Sometimes you get an early morning. Sometimes I got an early morning. But we are going to watch new horror movies every month, every day for the month of October. And the one we just saw is the Babadook. I liked it. He did not.
It was interesting. It was very uncomfortable. Not scary, per se, just uncomfortable. Like watching an execution or a train wreck in slow motion. It was just like you saw it happening, you saw everything coming. It was very choreographed and predictable, and you knew it was going to hurt. And yes, it did.
Personally, I really enjoyed the movie because I liked... It's like The Shining, except nobody dies. Oh, spoiler warning.
Except for the dad at the beginning.
Oh yeah, he does die. Yeah, basically the plot of the Babadook is
It's a psychological analysis of this lady who lost her husband.
and like it's like the creature within her is the Babadook.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very easy early on like to tell like where this movie is going. It's like the monster was within her all the time. It's like sometimes the symbolism could get a little goofy, like with the cartoon and the literal the wolf in sheep's clothing, like seeing all these people like tear off their mask and reveal like the devil inside. It's like,
yeah, it was very.
The symbolism was pretty obvious.
It was on the nose, like textbook, like artsy fartsy.
Yeah, you can see why this thing has a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's got things that all the critics like froth at the mouth for. But even then, I really enjoyed myself. I think the one thing that we both agree that was the best part was the book.
Yeah. Huge props to the artist that did like the art style for that book, because as soon as she opened up, I was like, okay, I see what this movie's gonna be about. And this.
I'm on board.
Wow. So you've got basically two stories being told. You have the mental state of this lady
and her child,
and mental state of this lady and her child, and then you have the invasion of their home. So basically, the question of whether or not this Babadook character, whether or not he actually exists or not, never gets answered through this movie. It's hugely
which is not a dig at the movie.
No, it was just an observation, not a judgment. And I'm like, okay, so it's like basically this lady, she gets this really graphic. Her kid finds this really graphic book on his bookshelf. She doesn't remember buying it, and he doesn't remember buying it. It was just there, and they open it up, and the book threatens to ruin their life. He says, this guy is going to come to your house, and it's going to suck. And she doesn't really take to it, and the kid takes the imagery of this book a little bit too seriously, and she decides to deal with the book by getting rid of the book.
Yeah, this woman has no chill.
No, she has no chill, and she has this thing about putting off problems rather than facing.
But then again, that's kind of the point of the story. It's like that's why the Babadook is.
Yes, we got the impression that the Babadook was the struggle of this lady trying to cope, and like the climax of this movie is this lady losing it.
Yeah, it's to see whether or not she surrenders herself to the Babadook, or she recognizes that the Babadook is her inability to understand that she needs help.
Yeah, and they end it with the lady locking it in her basement and feeding it slowly as it just kind of sits down there, and it's just like,
Double check. Okay, yeah, it's still recording. Because we actually did a first recording of this, and it actually accidentally shut off. But yeah, so yeah, tell them about that analogy that you were talking about. I thought it was very interesting.
Well, basically, I couldn't help but notice the parallels with this story and the black wolf, and it was a Native American story. The way I heard it in the Boy Scouts was they've got this, this chieftain sitting in the fire, telling a story about these two wolves that live inside every man. They're constantly battling, never permanently gaining victory over another. And the chief's kid speaks up and says, "Does one of them ever win?" And the chief responds, "Yes, the one you feed the most." I was like, okay, so the ending of this movie, she's literally got the Babadook locked in her basement, and she visits it every now and again to keep it calm, keep it sedated, and to feed it, on scraps.
Yeah, the thing is that I think part of this movie's philosophy is that you're not going to fully overcome trauma like that. I don't think you're going to fully overcome like the darkness in your heart. So as long as you acknowledge that it's there, but you don't let it consume you. Because as the Babadook said, it's like the more you deny me, the stronger I get.
As I said, it was very blatant with that.
Yes, it is very, very blatant with its symbolism.
And I think it was actually the symbolism that actually removed my ability to get feared, to actually get sucked into the suspense. It's just like, it was too heavily, I was too easily convinced that that this was just this lady's mental state. The symbolism was so heavy, I was just convinced the Babadook wasn't real. The lady was saying it wasn't real, and that seemed to really, drop her into it. But it's like, the symbolism was so blatant that it's like, okay, Babadook's not real. This lady's just off her rocker and, going off the deep end. And I'm like, hence the, watching an execution. It's just like, okay, so her psychological state is telling her where she's going to be heading. And sure enough, she's heading straight for it. It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion. It's like, you can totally see where this wreck is going. It's just, enjoy every slow motion second. And I'm like, I'm not enjoying this. This is uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah. But I honestly enjoyed myself more. It's like in my own sadistic way, I kind of liked seeing this woman's descent into madness. And
she killed her dog.
Yeah, but I did like the fact that, the Babadook book was an unfulfilled prophecy. It's like, I really hope it's like, I really hope they don't just... I really hope there's a twist.
I got the impression it wasn't so much a prophecy as much as a promise made by the Babadook.
Yeah. Yeah, but, yeah, so... I don't know, I'd probably give this movie a 7.5 out of 10. So I wouldn't exactly call it great, but it was a good film. The symbolism was a little heavy-handed that prevented it from, being a great film for me. But yeah, I would still recommend watching it, even though we just probably spoiled everything.
It was very full. It was very full of horror porn. It was just horror.
Yeah, great cinematography, great lighting. I think one part of the plot is the whenever there was a real actor in there with the Babadook costume, I feel like that always kind of made me, It's like
I don't know. I think it would have worked better if the symbolism. It's like if they weren't so heavy-handed with the fact that heavy-handed on the it's not real, I mean, I would have been a little bit, I might have been more, you know, afraid of it than just like, wow, she's really that off her rocker. It was just like, I wasn't like, oh my gosh, it's gonna get her. It's, oh my gosh, she's on the edge.
Yeah, it leaned way too hard on that. It's like you have preferred it if they kept it more ambiguous. Is the Babadook real or is it not?
Yeah. So they leaned more towards this is definitely just in her head versus, and like, it's like they didn't ever actually answer the question.
And so, that's fine if you.
Yeah, but it's like, I feel like, yeah, this would have impacted me more if it was actually more likely that this thing was real, as opposed to the way the movie presented it. It was, we're 99.9% sure this is all in her head.
Yeah, even at the end, it's like you're still pretty sure, like, hey, it could still be in her head.
I mean, at the end, I was just like, I'm still 90.9% sure it was in his head. I was just like, yeah.
I mean, it could also be an entity, but at that point, it's unlikely.
I was like,
yeah, but all right. Let us know in the comments if you want to see us do this for other movies. Like, let us know in the comments like other movies that we could watch, because we've seen a couple horror movies and we love horror, but we just never really had the opportunity to watch them. But now that we're in an apartment together, we can spend way more time together.
More of a monster movie guy.
Yeah. So. All right, so thank you all for joining us. Take care.